This is our last lesson in Chapter 2. This is Lesson 8. It's all about simple interest. And simple interest might be a new idea for you, or it might be something you're slightly familiar with. Either way, we're going to talk about it and hopefully help it make sense to you. So we're going to start with some vocab. Simple interest. Simple interest is the amount of money paid to use someone else's money. And this typically happens in two different ways. Either you borrow the money. If you are the borrower, then you pay to use the money of the person you're borrowing it from. So, for example, if you go to a bank and ask for a loan to buy a new car, the bank will say, sure, that's perfectly fine, but when you pay us back, you're going to also pay some interest. That's some extra money that you pay back to the bank, and that's just for using their money. The other way is if you are the investor. This is the other way we typically see interest being used. So what this means is you put your money into an account, like a savings account in a bank. They take your money and they lend it out to other people when they ask for loans. And because they use your money to lend out, the bank will say, hey, we're going to pay you a little bit of money for using your investment. So if you're a borrower, that's money that you have to pay back. If you're an investor, that's money that they pay you. Okay? Principal. Principal is the initial amount of money that is borrowed or invested. So if as a borrower, if you borrow money from the bank, you're going to have to pay that back plus interest. That's the money that you borrowed is the principal. If you're the investor, the money that you invest in the bank is the principal. Rate. Rate is the percent in the problem. This percent is used to calculate the amount of interest that will be paid. And time. The time is the amount of time that goes by within the investment, or the amount of time that it takes to pay back that money. And time is always calculated in years. That's really, really important for us to understand here. So, I have a couple notes for us to write down. First, the formula for simple interest is I, that stands for the interest, is equal to P times R times T. P is the principal, R is the rate, that's our percent, and T is the time that goes by. Okay, so that's the formula. I equals principal times rate times time. And remember, time is expressed in years. This is so important. That's why you keep seeing it pop up in your notes. We have a practice problem here. The practice problem says Arnold is putting $580 in a savings account. So Arnold is the investor. He's investing $580. That will be the principal. The account pays 3% simple interest. The percent is our rate, R. How much interest will Arnold have after 6 months? So 6 months is the time that goes by before Arnold sees interest paid to him. Okay, so the way I like to get this started is very similarly to the other percent problems that we do in the chapter. I like to get really organized. I know we kind of did this above, but we're going to get organized quickly down here. The principal is $580. That's the amount of his investment. The rate is 3%. Now, the reason I like to write this down is because we need to change that rate to a decimal right away. Remember, you cannot multiply with numbers in percent form, so we're going to do D2P and change it to a decimal. T is the time. Remember, time is measured in years, but here they're giving us months. So we have to do something about that. We have to write a fraction in order to help understand that amount in this problem. So 6 months, put your 6 in the numerator. The denominator is going to be 12 because there are 12 months in a year. And we are going to have to turn that into a decimal. So we drop the 6 into the house, add our decimal. 12 does not go into 6, but 12 does go into 60. 12 goes into 60 5 times. 5 times 12 is 60. Subtract, and we get 0. So our time here is going to be 5/10 of a year. If they give you years, this is really, really easy. You just put the number directly into the problem. But if they give you months, you always have to do this fraction and change it to a decimal. Okay, so let's do our problem here. The formula is I equals PRT. You know I'm going to make you write that formula down. The more you write it, the more you remember it. I equals PRT. We are solving for the I, so we're going to leave that our variable. Okay, we'll leave that our variable. P is 580. The rate is 3/100ths. And the time is 5/10ths. Now you know that it's okay to do these in any order that you want because this is multiplication. It doesn't really benefit us to do them in any special order, so I'm just going to start with 580 times 3/100ths. 580 times 3/100ths. Put right here. Two numbers come after the decimal. 3 times 0, 3 times 8. 3 times 5 is 15 plus 2 is 17. Move my decimal 2 places. So that gets me 17 4/10ths. We're going to multiply that by 5/10ths. Take notice, I just cleaned up the 0 here at the end. That's how I got from 17 40/100ths to 17 4/10ths. Okay. Next, we're going to multiply 17 4/10ths times 5/10ths. 2 numbers after the decimal. 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 7 is 35 plus 2 is 37. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 3 is 8. And we're going to move our decimal 2 places to the left. Okay, so $8.70 is the amount of interest that Arnold will get paid from the bank. Now, they could follow this up with a bonus question. They could ask us, okay, if that's the amount of interest that he gets, then what is the total in his account? If they ask that type of question, very easy problem to solve. All we have to do is take his original investment, $580, and add his interest in. Just a reminder, interest in this case is money that he gets to keep. So it's a good thing. It's money that he gets to keep, money that's added to his account. So if they would ask that question, they did not ask it this time, but if they would, he would end up with $588.70 as his total. Take notice, every time I change gears on what I'm solving for, I'm drawing a line, I'm using a new label, I'm trying to stay very, 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 very organized with this work. Okay? All right, here's what you have to do now. You have to finish your 2.8 practice problems. There are not too many of them. I think there's 3 more for you to do. You're going to update your flashcards with our new words, simple interest, principal, rate, and time. Remember that important note about time. It is measured in years. So if they give you months, you have to write a fraction and change it to a decimal. When you're ready, take your last quiz, which is quiz 5 in chapter 2. And then when you finish that up, I would like you to complete the test review questions at the end of your note packet. Make a plan to start studying for this test. Do not wait.